Good evening. The time is 2:35 a.m. The date is August the 24th, 2011. Following is a demonstration of fuel cell technology. What you're about to witness is the generation of raw hydrogen gas and oxygen gas from distilled water. What we're going to be using is an electrolyzer, which is this device right here. Basically, the electrolyzer converts electricity and distilled water into its basic gases of hydrogen and oxygen. The power supply is this little black box right here, which contains two AA batteries generating roughly 3 volts. The tubing that you see coming off the electrolyzer is providing oxygen to this cylinder and hydrogen to that cylinder. Once we've collected our gases, we will plug the gas into this device, which is the fuel cell, which should generate sufficient electricity to drive this small electric fan. Okay, I'm going to now begin the experiment. Now, obviously, water is made up of what we call H2O, which is 2 hydrogens to 1 oxygen. So we should see a rough amount of gas being equivalent to that, 2 parts of hydrogen to roughly 1 part of oxygen. I'm going to go ahead and turn on the electric power and begin the gas generation. When I feel like I've collected enough gas, I will go ahead and disconnect the electric power to the electrolyzer and take the gas and apply it directly to the fuel cell, which is this small device right here. I'll plug the gas into that small port there on the lower right side. What we're in the process of doing right now is generating the gases. As they're being generated, they're being collected in small test tubes within test tubes inside those graduated what look like beakers. This should take a few minutes, and once I've collected sufficient gas, I will go ahead and, as I said, connect it to the fuel cell. The gas is collecting now, both raw oxygen in this test tube or beaker and raw hydrogen in this beaker. And as I said, the device that's generating that is this electrolyzer, which is connected electrically to this little power supply here, which has 2 AA batteries. The water levels are increasing corresponding to the gas that's collecting inside of the small I would call them like upside down test tubes. Once this process is complete, I'm only going to be using the hydrogen gas, and the hydrogen gas will be plugged into the lower right corner of that fuel cell, and that should provide enough electricity to cause this fan to turn. I'm applying roughly 3 volts, by the way, to the electrolyzer. Let me give you some additional close-ups of the gas collection. I'm probably going to terminate the gas collection once I see bubbles appearing around the edge of the inner hydrogen beaker. Now, obviously, as I said, a water molecule is made up of 2 hydrogens to 1 oxygen, so there should be a rough equivalent seen there in the displacement of the water in the 2 beakers. And as you can see, we are getting a little more hydrogen versus the oxygen generation. I'm not sure whether the ratio would be exact, of course, in measuring in this way, but that's what it roughly should be. I'm going to move that electrical wire around a little bit so that you can see this a little bit better. As I said, once we begin to see some bubbles appearing around the edge of the hydrogen beaker, I will disconnect the electricity being applied to the electrolyzer, which is that device right there, and then apply the gas directly to the fuel cell, which is located right there. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so that you can see me make the connection. By the way, the electrical wiring is coming from the fuel cell. That's our positive connection that's going to the fan. And that's our black wire, which is the negative connection. As you can see, it plugs in directly behind. And that's the wiring coming from the fuel cell. Once sufficient gas has been collected there, as I said, I'm going to clamp the hose, turn off the electric power, and then redirect the hydrogen gas, just the hydrogen gas, into the fuel cell. We're pretty much nearing the completion of the hydrogen gas generation. I'm going to give you another close-up view of that. Let's take another look at that ratio of gas, by the way. You can see the oxygen is roughly at around that level, and the hydrogen gas displacing the water at about that level. I think we're just about at the full range. I'm going to go ahead right now and disconnect the electricity and clamp the gas and begin applying it to the electrolyzer. Clamping the gas. Now connecting it to the fuel cell rather. Going to release the gas now. Pump it up a bit. And there you can see the fan has begun operating. Now as the gas is being used up in the experiment, you will see the level of the water begin to drop. This indicates that the gas is being used up as the generation of electricity is taking place. I'll give you another close-up of the gas supply. And you can see as the water level is dropping, the gas is being used up, which of course is stored inside that small test tube within the beaker. And I think that pretty much concludes the experiment. So have a nice day and thank you for observing.